Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? I'll be joined by the Mad New Yorker in just a second. Want to welcome everybody in today. A couple quick reminders we'll have in a second. Welcome everybody on TGI Sports Talk, watching on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. I think you can comment from all of those platforms. And if you have a problem, send a message to my personal Facebook Messenger, and we'll try to address it. I know we have a problem with comments sometimes coming up depending on what source you're on. Also, those watching on Northeast Streaming Sports, we're live, of course, on Facebook, YouTube, and the Roku channel this morning. Make sure you get that Roku channel downloaded, and also the Let's Talk Sports Network on their YouTube feed. And guys, great. Check out all of those outlets. Great content there all week long. Let me lower this music some more. And also, quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media, especially a sports corner that he does with Smoke and Jim Frazier every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. He wanted me to come on this past week, and I was traveling in Atlanta for work until last night. And then I'm on vacation, which we'll talk about in a second. Anyway, that's on 5 o'clock Tuesdays, WBVP, 1230 AM, 99.3 FM. And we try to share the show when we can on TGI Sports Talk as well. Guys, a couple quick notes before I bring the Mad New Yorker in. I will be traveling for vacation, so the show will be preempted the next 2 Fridays. I'll probably try to do, and so will the College Sports Huddle, and the Sunday Stream of Consciousness will not be on this week or next week, but the following Sunday it should be on. It gets a little confusing. I'll probably post something on the page at some point, but I will go live from the Caribbean, the middle of the Caribbean, when I can, to maybe talk a little bit on each one of those shows. We'll try to do something Super Bowl Sunday, even if we come on for a half an hour or something. So we'll keep that in mind as we go forward today. We're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, obviously, the matchups. We'll talk about Purdy. We'll talk about Mahomes. We'll talk about the coaches, the rumors about Andy Reid maybe walking away and what his legacy would be if so. Shanahan, maybe where Andy Reid was in Kansas City and Philadelphia before that, before he actually, got over the hump. And just some of the keys to the game. We'll debate some things. Maybe we'll talk a little about the Knicks. I don't know. We'll see. And the big trade they made. But let's bring in the Mad New Yorker. Good morning, Carlos. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Super Bowl weekend. Let the festivities begin if you haven't started already.
It's been hard for me to get, I don't know, just because I've traveled so much, I think the last 5 weeks, it's hard for me to believe the Super Bowl's here and we're in the middle of February and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Things have just creeped up on me. And it's different. With the Patriots not there, I'm not never as worked up. But I'm excited because we got a team. Everybody seems to love to hate. That's one thing I want to touch on too. So we got I think the 2 best teams are here myself. That's just me. I was not, jumping off board with Kansas City when everybody else was, as they slumped during the middle to later part of the year. Kansas City has become the Patriots of today. Everybody loves to hate the team that wins all the time and the quarterback that wins all the time. And Patrick Mahomes, in that regard, is moving quickly into Tom Brady territory, and the Kansas City Chiefs are moving into Patriot territory. So I don't know, maybe the casual fan is all over the 49ers this week for something different. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, before we get crazy about calling some people casual fans, know that the 49ers were a huge team in the late 80s and early 90s. So they have a strong fan base.
They reached that point as well. They were, because whatever reason, and again, when I say casual fan, it's not just a casual fan, it's a hardcore fan too. I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs every year. Well, tell your team to get better and knock them out. Right. That's all I tell people.
Yeah, so even myself as a youngster, watching Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Taylor, those teams, Rathman, those teams, Ronnie Lott, harken back to those days, and they played against the Giants. So I know I was like, that was a matchup to see. I always dislike when they beat up on the Giants after after the 90s season. So
yeah.
But I guess it's okay to see them back in the thing, in the swing of things, being out west. It's good for the media out there. It's good for the NFL You get the that kind of fan base, Steeler fan base, Dallas fan base. You like to see them get a little, get back into the swing of things. I'm kind of hoping to see the Raiders soon, right? That's the hope.
Well, I'm sure Vegas would like to have seen him this year, but that's not the case. Couple quick good mornings. Kenny Gifford, good morning, and good morning to Anthony Price, and good morning to Rick Sherlock. We'll touch on these topics real quick. Some of this I'll get into a lot more. I'm not going to do a show Sunday, so I guess we got to talk a little bit about these today. So we will go off script a little bit. Kenny's talking about college sports getting a union. It's not surprising, right? They're becoming, and I argued this with Carlos for a long time, and I'm obviously coming out on the wrong side of this. They're becoming professional athletes. It is a feeder system for the NFL, and very little amateur standing when you look at it today. So I'm not surprised they're going to get a union.
The biggest issues are the power. The bigger teams will always have the pull. It's kind of like in a union. The bigger companies are always going to have the pull. They're the ones that have the more money that's at stake. So if they want to unionize, fine, but the way the unions work across the United States is it's less likely to be a national union, because there are going to be states that are going to have open shops, right? There are going to be people that are we don't want to do this, and they don't, and it's a union, so you don't have to join at the end of the day. So,
yeah. Well, you'd be probably
if you want to make it something political, you can, but if you want, it's more about money at the end of the day. And the NCAA, they're going to have to figure out how to disperse the money equally and fair, which hasn't been something they've ever done since their inception. So,
well, the changes that have gone on over the last 2 decades that have culminated to where we are today, the college sports won't ever be the same. It won't be long. The Big Ten and SEC will break off from the rest of the rest of college sports, and they'll have their own entity and their own TV deals. And they have their own TV deals now, but they'll have their own championship, and it'll be everybody else. And it's not good for the sport, without a doubt. I believe. I
mean, it keeps as you were young and I'm coming up. They've always been these divisions. There's always been these conferences that have been getting put together. There's always been change. The landscape has always been changing. The problem was that the landscape was changing because the universities were getting big and they had the money. Now the landscape is changing because the universities are already big, but the players, the athletes, the amateurs, they want the money. They want some of it. So we can't just sit here and be like, oh, well, it'll never be the same. It wasn't always the same. You had to recall that back in the day, there was universities like West Point and older universities that were winning championships in football that haven't won a championship football in
Army and Navy were very competitive on a national level.
On basketball, you had the Christian schools, the Catholic schools that are making huge championship runs. Like that hasn't happened in a while either. So
the NCAA, at the end of the day, the NCAA is to blame for most of this because they've lost every landmark case they've come across. It started when the CFA went away, or the CFA was formed. The NCAA used to set the prices for TV contracts, and there was one contract.
Right.
And then the first stone that started this ball rolling down the hill was when the individual conferences could go out and negotiate their own deals. And from there, it's been all, in my mind, downhill as far as amateurism goes. So
yeah, and then if you want to look at it just really quick, so we don't get sidetracked. These mid-level, mid-conferences, universities, they're chomping on the bit to be in the top conferences too. Universities like Marshall and like what's this? Some of the schools there in Tennessee, like Middle Tennessee State University, like those. So you open a conference that has television and a better opportunity to play a better more competition and gain more money. You better best believe that they're doing everything they can to get there. So it's not just the university students; the universities too. They want money. So,
and they do support. And by the way, they do support a lot of the other sports that are going on that are not revenue drivers. Right? Women's lacrosse is being supported by these revenue earning sports like football and basketball specifically.
And I've always said that it's nothing against Title IX. But I've always, and my mentions when we first started talking about these things, is like Title IX is a big issue, and that needs to be changed. A lot of these laws for school that have to do with racism and minorities and all that stuff, those things need to be upgraded to the times and also to the to the state themselves in which they're they're used as a foundation to try to get the sport and everybody in on the same page. You know,
Yeah, and
there's a lot of small things as fans.
This is a topic for an entire 2-hour show.
Yeah,
Is what,
of course, yeah.
And maybe we'll have to dive into it sometime during the college football offseason. Anthony, good morning to you. He talks about TJ Watt getting robbed from the NFL honors last night. Myles Garrett, I think Myles Garrett got the award, right? And listen, these awards are what they are. I think these two players are pretty even. They're very important they're both very important to their teams. I would have voted for TJ Watt, and I thought Myles Garrett might get hurt a little bit by his helmet swinging incident from a few years ago. But
the fact that they've recognized him as somebody who was eligible and respect his play on the field and not have to bring that kind of junk back into the media, I think is, because he laid it on the field. He's a football player and he did his job, and what he did in the past happened in the past. So TJ Watt, how about this? I would have been okay if they would have shared that award, to be honest with you.
That would have been fine. I mean,
would have been okay with that.
These awards are what they are. It's sometimes it's a popularity contest, sometimes it's the right player. So
you can't go wrong with the fact that defense kept that team with 11 different quarterbacks or however many they had, starting wise, or like 8 different starters, 11 different quarterbacks, whatever it was, to have that opportunity to give your offense opportunity to always be in the game. He was one of the catalysts for that, and you can't. As much as I thought that Watt would have been one to receive it, you cannot see past that. That's just incredible.
Real quick, going backwards, Mac. This is Mac, I'm sure, from Northeast Streaming Sports. Welcome, Mac. Great stuff on Northeast Streaming Sports. As I've said, make sure you get over there and like and follow the show. He agrees with Kenny. Mac and I had this debate 3 years ago, and he was all over this, and I kind of was. I think more because I didn't want it to happen was on the other side of this argument, as far as the NCAA goes. So we'll get into that more as we go forward.
Yeah, and I've always said that the NCAA will do what the NCAA will do, and they're not as much as they're a part of college sports. They third party a lot of stuff. They try to get away with a lot of different things. They let the universities kind of manage themselves sometimes too. So. It's not an easy bit. There's 3. What is it? 3 divisions in the NCAA, something like that.
Well, you've got the FBS division. You've got FBS 1, FBS. You've got Division 2, 3, and there's like 4, I think. Everybody else plays a real playoff, by the way, with about 16 teams or more. So, anyway. Rick's talking about Emmitt Smith ripping Flintstone, who we all know he refers to as Mike McCarthy, or vice versa. He ripped him for the playoff loss, said he would have fired Mike McCarthy. Listen, the problem in there is not the head coach. They've had a ton of head coaches there over the years. The problem is more systematic than that. It's the entire organization is sick, in my mind. They win 12 games a year. That's great. But it's hard to fire coaches won 36 games over the last 3 years. I know they failed in the playoffs. Dan Quinn could take the bulk of this playoff loss more than Fred Flintstone in my mind.
Yeah, if anything, he should take the bulk of the playoffs. His defense was lacking in the last 6 games. So
missing from the opening gun in that Green Bay game. So that falls on the defense, which, listen, ultimately it all falls back on the head coach. I get that.
I give them credit for trying to create stability. You don't want to be turning over coaches like you're turning over scrambled eggs and anything else. So
when you think about it, what's a better option? Maybe there were better options, but Pete Carroll I thought would have been a great option there myself. But
that situation in Dallas will be that situation in Dallas, and we've mentioned it before. We talked about it. Until we get some football-minded professionals in there whose name is not Jerry Jones and Sons, you will have a better football team. And
exactly.
That's just reality.
Good morning to Bob Engle.
Yeah, we're starting to agree more than we
I know. We'll change that here in a little bit. Back to the Super Bowl. Let's see. Kenny's got something, I think. Back to the Super Bowl. 49ers are favored, but I'm not sure. It's just a betting thing.
Yeah, don't bet. Guys, listen, though, I wouldn't touch this game.
I wouldn't touch this game.
I'm not a betting guy anyway, but still.
I am all over Kansas City in this game. And remember something about betting lines? I believe the 49ers opened 2.5. I think it's 1.5 now. depending on where you look.
No, it's -1.
It's all about. It's not when you look at betting lines, even if it's a big line and it's 17, it's not necessarily that somebody thinks this team is 17 points better. All they're looking to do is get the same amount of money bet on both sides, so they win the vig. That's what they want.
Yeah, right now it's -2, and the over is 47 and 47.5.
That's why you see lines move up and down depending on the betting. So again, I don't get
the roster, the starting lineups.
Say that again.
So right now you're looking at -2, and the over is 47.5, or the under is 47.5. Yeah.
I love Kansas City. I just do. We'll talk more about it. You know why I like them is because they just find a way. They're not as good as a team that won the Super Bowl twice before. I shouldn't say that. They're not as talented, maybe, but they're as good because they find ways to win. And they've got guys that are stepping up big in the big time. Rashid Rice is playing great football in the postseason, for example. So we're going to look at.
I like the Chiefs and what they were able to accomplish this season. I like that they become a better balanced football team throughout the season. They've been getting better every game offensively compared to what they were in the beginning of the season and the middle of the season. Can they ride that wave? Can they go to it and play it in a team, or play a team that is inconsistent and win? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. This game is going to be tight, man.
I think it'll be very, very close. We're going to find out a lot about. Listen, we already know about Mahomes. I mean, the matchup. This isn't Mahomes against Purdy. They don't play against each other.
No, this definitely is not. But you know what? I'm glad you said. But the key components of this game is, can Mahomes carry the Chiefs, and can Purdy carry the 49ers if the players don't rise up to the challenge? If all the weapons that Purdy has, if they can't, help him, can he help himself? That's one thing I'm looking at. I try to break this game down, right?
That's the thing too, and we talked, and I'll get to Kenny's comment here in a second, and the rest of your comments. Don't worry. To that point, one of the things that has been debated now for quite a while is Purdy just a game manager and he's playing well because of the things around him? And I've wavered back and forth. I mean, he's better. I mean, him and the team hasn't been as successful when, say, Deebo Samuel's out. Let's say they haven't won a game when he's missed an entire game. But a lot of teams are going to struggle when their best players are sitting on the bench. So it's not necessarily on the quarterback. And we saw him step up against the Lions and make big plays himself with his feet and his arm. So I think Brock Purdy's starting to come into his own. Now, this is the biggest stage he's ever been on, and it's a different atmosphere. Things are slower. There's more stuff going on before the game. The half times are longer. All of that matters because players are creatures of habit. So again,
and the thing with him,
if Purdy stays mistake free, the 49ers will have a chance to win this game, and it will be a close game. If the moment's too big for Purdy, it could be ugly for the 49ers.
Yeah, that's where I was going there. I was like, this is his first actual full run at a playoff and / now actual being in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Where is his mindset? Where is his health? What is all these things that,
And is he related to Lee Harvey Oswald is the other question.
And, why does this picture look like he's in high school trying to dress up as a 49 quarterback? No, but all these things that are going on right now, like, are those things going to affect him? The social media stuff going to affect him? Is, the stuff
Media Day just needs to go away because to spend the time they spent asking him about Lee Harvey Oswald, Media Day probably served a purpose at one time, but I think it went away the year the Redskins played the Broncos. Doug Williams was a quarterback, and the first question he was asked was, "How long have you been a black quarterback?" That was time to end those press conferences about that.
Well, a few weeks ago, somebody was asking what the temperature was going to be in an indoor facility. So I don't think times have changed much. So
call the stadium, right? Kenny talks about Kelsey if he doesn't play big part of the Chiefs offense and the 49ers win. I don't disagree. And I said when Tyreek Hill got traded, it was Kelsey that makes this offense go. Kelsey, I talked a minute about Rice stepping up as the season went on, and especially in the playoffs. Part of that is because Kelsey has become Kelsey again and opened up part of the field for Rice. And also I think they put him in a better position to succeed. Andy Reid broke things down a lot after this Christmas Day loss they had to the Raiders. It was embarrassing, and he went back to some of his basics, and that's why Andy Reid, I think, has an advantage in this game as well. I think he's more likely to make the right adjustment.
Yeah, let's not get too excited about the offense that Kansas City has. Mind you, the Ravens did everything to make sure that they kept that score low. The problem was the offense didn't score enough points. Can San Francisco control the Kansas City Chiefs and keep them from scoring fast? Not drives. The drives is Kansas City trying to eat up clock.
That will be their mission for sure.
I don't know, because you're going against a team also that's going to be driving the ball down and scoring fast, right? So that's, to me, I feel like.
Good morning, Patricia, one of the Chavez family. I'm sorry, I can't say the last name, so
it's Nidifer, but that's
Nidifer. Thank you.
That's my niece.
Well, welcome, Patricia. Good to have you with us today.
Elizabeth, morning. No, but here's the thing, right? And I know you don't like analytics and stats and all that, but if you break down,
not all, some, yes.
If you break down what Kansas City's been able to do and what San Francisco has been able to do, the two teams can score fast. The two teams lack the ability to come back if the score is more than 14 points.
That's not true. 49ers fell down by 20. They were down by 20.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking again, this is like average. I'm not talking about like the last.
All right. Well, again, that's why averages don't work. I just watched the 49ers come back from a 20-point deficit.
Yeah, but that was Detroit. And Detroit statistically doesn't score more than 27 points a game anyway. So they didn't even score the third quarter. So I've hedged that bet since
averages don't matter.
They might be in the playoffs, and I knew that they were not going to go further than going to a Super Bowl, where a lot of people are like getting excited about. But
here's the key for me. The most underrated part of this game on either side is a Kansas City defense. And I've been saying this for 3 years. Kansas City, when they first started to rise, including their first Super Bowl win, that defense was subpar at best. And they've gotten better and better every year. They drafted well. They made some smart trades. I said this going into the Baltimore game. Chiefs are as good at defense in a different way than Baltimore. They don't give up points. They will bend, but they are tough, and they come up with big plays and big moments. And the Chiefs defense against Purdy, that's the key. And that running game, they got to control McCaffrey. And on the other side, San Francisco's defense has really been a little lackluster the second half of the season, and you can run on them. And I would expect Kansas City to try to exploit that.
Yeah, and the thing with the 49ers has been, it just looks like they're they're exhausted. They've been overrun a little bit, but they need to come back. They've had 2 weeks off. They won their last game. They need to come back to reality and get, because Fred Warner hasn't played well in 2 games, I don't think. And also Bosa has been kind of like lackluster, a couple of games prior. And so let's get, hopefully this rest helps them more than anybody. And yeah. I don't know, like, I just feel like both teams are going to come out knowing that the defenses have holes that they can and have different situations that they can overcome. I don't see a lot of holes in that Kansas City defense.
I don't see a lot of holes in that Kansas City defense. I really don't. They played great defense through these playoffs. Great defense.
Now, I think that Kansas City, with Spagnuolo drawing up these different looks, does affect a lot of what happens. But again, this is a team in the 49ers who have options everywhere. And now Purdy's an option to run. So what can Spagnuolo do to try to keep Purdy in the pocket? Because once he's out of the pocket, now that he's going to be a game changer now. If he plays, again, if Purdy plays how he played the last game.
Yep.
He picked up 20-plus yards, right?
Agreed. And that's what they have to do. And I don't think Kansas City is going to let him get out there and run the way that the Lions did, not for these big 30-yard runs.
who's going to stop him besides Jones? Who's in that D line?
The linebackers are very talented on Kansas City side of football, and the secondary is one of the best in football in my mind.
Okay, but
so
they have other guys. They have other marquee matchups that they have to focus on, right?
This is a much better defense than they played against the Lions, and a much better defense they played against the Packers. Much better, night and day. Kansas City's much better than those two teams. To Kevin Meyer's point, real quick, Kevin, welcome, and I'm glad you were able to get your comments in. I know a couple of Sundays ago you had trouble there, and again, I apologize to you live as I did when I wrote to you that day that I would never ignore anybody's comments. Everybody's comments are equally welcome here. 49ers do have the running game. And again, as I mentioned a second ago, I think the Chiefs have the tools to shut that down a little. Shut it down. You're not going to totally stop McCaffrey. He's the best running back in football in my mind because the different things he can do. And plus he's tough, man. And don't take anything away from Pacheco. I think Pacheco is going to be a big piece coming out of the backfield. Getting passes and running the ball because, as I said, the 49ers have been a little lax in run defense recently.
What Pacheco is good is that he doesn't quit.
He's a grinder. Oh, he's a grinder.
He grinds the game out right. He'll 2 yards, -4 yards, 10 yards, -2 yards. Like he'll just go back and forth, and you're like, this guy's not going to get 100 yards. And all of a sudden, he's breaking, and he got a 30-yard run, and you're like, well, he gets closer to 100 than half of these running backs did. Who were supposed to be good this season.
Late draft pick out of Rutgers, Pacheco too. Good to see guys like that succeed. And he came out of nowhere basically.
And much love and respect to Puerto Rico, where he's from, the family. So
Yeah. So great, good points there, Kevin, on both points. Kenny's talking about 49ers will try to shorten the game. It's up to I think both teams are going to try to shorten the game. To be honest with you, they keep their defense fresh. It's funny. There's a comment up here from Anthony, and I did miss it, so I apologize. I don't know whether you think 47.5 is scary because it's too high or too low. I'm scared of it because I'm not really sure if this game will be close to the vest and 17-13. It's very possible it is. It could turn into a shootout as well. So I don't know which way to go. I would not touch the over-under. I'll bet the game. I like Kansas City. I will not touch this over-under.
And again, I think it's going to be a shootout because you have two of the best, and I much as I dislike the system, you have two of the best offensive coaches in the league. And I'm not going to take any away from the defense.
I want you to say that one more time, and I want you to take Andy Reid. We already know he's a great coach. I want you to say the name. Kyle Shanahan is. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're in the top of the best
name.
The Shanahan system and Shanahan are doing great, but again, he has all his tools. When his Swiss Army blade, gets a little wet and tarnished, he kind of got to fall under and go into a little cave. But
he does a pretty good adjusting. Now here, bring up Shanahan though, and it's Kenny. To your point, I think the defense is stopping the running game on both sides are the key, as I've talked about here. One of the keys. Talking about the coaches for a second, it's interesting that these guys are matching up against each other because Andy Reid had saying that it's kind of the same kind of reputation that Kyle Shanahan has today for like 15 years in Philadelphia than in Kansas City. Great coach, great regular season coach, would struggle in the playoffs, got to the Super Bowl and lost a big game, lost a bunch of NFC championship games, lost AFC championship games, couldn't get over the hump. Kyle Shanahan's kind of in the same place Andy Reid was there. Now Andy Reid he's looked at one of the great coaches of all time, and he should be. But winning that Super Bowl really changes that outlook, I guess, unless you're Mike McCarthy for these guys. But if Shanahan gets over the top here, this really changes the look that people like you may have of him.
No, I don't have a bad view. I just think the system is like he has thrown a lot of players under the bus as far as quarterbacks because they can't run the system, right? As far as Jimmy G. He got rid of Trey Lance, so he's boxed himself in. And now he's betting on the guy who this is his first time going there, and he's hoping that he's gonna, go all out and get the big one. And I think he might be able to, because of the fact that he boxed himself in, but he didn't do it without getting any tools for this kid either. This is the best offensive roster that, comparatively speaking, in the top, in the top 5, right?
Yeah.
Best offensive roster, like player wise. You got Kittle, Jurzik, who's a fullback, right? You have Debo Samuel. You have Ayuk, who just keeps getting better and better.
Great player.
You got McCaffrey or
McCaffrey. Yep.
You got and then on top of now and then you have to say that his quarterback is serviceable and plus more, right? Because he has accuracy, he has patience, right? But we can't rank him as a top 10 quarterback yet because this is going to be his first time in the first time in the mix.
Yeah, and I think if people want to compare this game to when they played, whatever it was, 4 years ago, I guess now when they played the last time in the Super Bowl. These two teams, are far different teams than they were then. Yeah. I mean, San Francisco did not rely on Jimmy G at all. He threw 8 times in the NFC Championship game that year. He didn't throw the ball a lot in the Super Bowl. McCaffrey wasn't on this team, and Purdy is more of a playmaker than Jimmy G was for sure. It's a much better, different team.
As a person who likes to watch football, and not a fanboy, I'm not gonna call Brock Purdy give him a top 5 quarterback in the NFL yet because this is what I want to see. What are you gonna do when your back is against the wall and you have to carry the team, not your teammates?
He's done it twice in the playoffs this year.
But the season isn't over yet.
I understand.
This is what's going to be like, this is what's going to determine whether he's going to stay a quarterback at San Francisco. Do you think?
Yes. There's no way he loses his job in San Francisco.
Do you think if he does poorly, like a game, maybe the Ravens game, will the San Francisco 49ers draft another quarterback or try to get somebody else?
No.
Because you're giving him the benefit of the doubt. You're giving him every little opportunity that some of these other quarterbacks in the NFL need.
The numbers are there, and the eye test is there. You watch him play games; he's in charge. He may not have the best arm strength. A lot of this, and again, I don't want people fall into this trap. I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady. When Tom Brady came in, there was a lot of knocks on Tom Brady's game. Didn't have the arm strength. Didn't have maneuverability in the pocket. Well, Tom Brady showed he could run the ball a little bit when he needed to, or at least early in his career. Brock Purdy's shown the same kind of thing. They get on his arm strength. I have gotten on his arm strength. All he does is complete big pass after big pass. With that said, I still think he's going to lose this week.
Here's my question. This is the test I give everybody. If you took Brock Purdy and put him on Carolina Panthers, or you put him on,
nobody's going to win with that team.
Listen, this is very legit. No. Could he make that team better or a winning team?
No, not with the talent they have now. Patrick Mahomes wouldn't make Carolina better. He just wouldn't.
But here's the thing: Patrick Mahomes has made Kansas City better from when they have lost the players of caliber and talent that they have lost. He's a one foundation piece that has been able to raise people's games, and he's been able to raise the game of the offense this season alone.
The difference between these two guys, Purdy's looking to make his bones right now and solidify his reputation. You may be right. There are a lot of people who think the same thing. If he doesn't win this game, it's going to diminish him in their eyes. Patrick Mahomes is already at the pinnacle of today's quarterbacks. He wins another Super Bowl. He's moving himself into the top echelon of quarterbacks all time. At 27 years old, Tom Brady didn't have 3 Super Bowl titles at 27 years old. So, again, this is going to be an interesting. Let me get back to some of these comments before we lose track of them real quick. Anthony was right. The 49ers were slow because of the bye week, but they got out slow the week after that as well.
Yeah, they did.
That really had nothing to do with the bye week. And now they've got 2 weeks. This is the second time they've had a week off in the last month. And players are part of routine. And I think both teams could, get off a little slow this week because of the week in between. So it does play a part, I think. Yeah. We've talked about this before. There's pluses to it and there's minuses. I didn't ignore your comment. I saw what you, Kenny, because I don't ignore comments, Kenny, including yours. I'll put it up there real quick. I did hear Rex Ryan he's not going. He's interviewing for the job. I didn't hear he was going to be the next coordinator, but I did hear he interviewed for the Cowboys defensive coordinator job. So I didn't ignore you, I promise. So what else we got here? Kenny says, I think Kansas City wants to blow the 49ers out quickly. I would say anybody would want to blow somebody out quickly. I don't think it's going to happen. Another key, and I think these is getting for San Francisco. I said their defense has not played as great as they did early in the season. And Patrick Mahomes has an uncanny way of keeping drives alive. Big third down conversions. It looks like there's nothing there. And he runs, he throws a little dunk pass. He does things that he just finds way. And 49ers have got to get off the field on third down and keep
didn't they do that last time?
They did.
Yeah. Didn't Purdy give them an opportunity? Purdy literally ran and put them in the red zone when they didn't look like they had any opportunity to come back and score any more points. Or score on the throw.
Right now, talk about the 49ers defense against Mahomes, right? They need to get him off the field. And the same thing will apply to Kansas City for sure. That's always a big thing. Get off the field on third down.
Yes.
Mahomes has shown it through his whole career is on an uncanny to make something out of nothing. And maybe Purdy does the same thing. Because that puts pressure on a young quarterback. As far as getting ahead, I guess, quickly, without a doubt. Kevin says, no doubt field position will be very important. Special teams, as always.
Yes.
We don't talk about them enough. The punters and kickers, kickers, you got to make your field goals. You're not going to win this game with field goals. You got to convert into touchdowns, in my mind. And the punters and the way the special teams play in general will be very important. Field position, again, I'm underrated field position. And
if you're gonna make a prop bet, how many punts total are there going to be in this Super Bowl?
I would say under 5.
I was going to say the same thing. If you're gonna make any bet that's silly that you don't like $20 or whatever, I would prop bet something like that. Like how many punts are going to be in this game?
Yeah, and I don't say that because I think there'll be a ton of points scored. I don't think this is a 40-38 game, believe me, or 35 to 35.
So that's where we disagree.
They're going to go, I think there'll be still less punts because even in a lower scoring game, I think you're going to see both these coaches probably be going for it around midfield on fourth downs rather than kicking the ball away. Depending on game situation, Dan Campbell, right? You don't do willy-nilly, but I think both these coaches are not afraid to go for it, but they do it the smart way.
These coaching staffs are two similar-minded offensive guys. They're not worried about and they're not going to do anything Dan Campbell will do.
Rick, as far as the tape on Carlos's past comments, all these shows you can go and check them all out. So whatever, I'm not sure which comment you're referring to. They don't get lost like Mike Francesa on The Fan, where his predictions go, they get lost in the ether. We don't do that. They can be found. I just don't catalog.
And as far as one of my comments back in the day, it's like I'm usually like anywhere between 90 to 80% correct anyways.
No, Anthony, I just said I can't name one quarterback that would make the Panthers better this season, right?
Well, I can guarantee you that.
But what's better? I mean, they'd win 3 games instead of 2 or whatever they want. I mean,
I can guarantee you this. If you put Patrick Mahomes on the Carolina Panthers or even the Commanders, he's going to give you 5 or 6 wins.
That's not better, though. Better to me is being playoff.
But
come on.
I'm talking about his talent alone, just his talent and skill level alone.
There's not enough talent around him there unless they have a tremendous offseason and draft.
On the Panthers, you mean?
For them to be playoff. Well, even in that horrible division, there's not a quarterback, including Patrick Mahomes, who I love, that would make this team playoff contenders next year.
I think they would. I think there would be, especially in that division, there would have been a playoff team. I'm okay saying that. I believe Patrick Mahomes on the Carolina Panthers. With the team they had this past season, he would at least probably got him to that final playoffs position. They wouldn't have won much, but they would have been in there.
Yeah. Kenny talks about arm strength is sort of overplayed. I agree. I mean, look at Joe Montana, Tom Brady. These are guys who did not have rifle arms. Like
Somebody hating on Allen. I told you guys that the Buffalo Bills ain't gonna win nothing for the next 20 years.
Yeah. Well, again, but you have to have touch, and that matters more than being able to throw the ball 80 yards like Allen. I think Allen's a great quarterback. Do not get me wrong.
No, he's not a bad quarterback.
I do think he's a great quarterback. He's just a different kind of quarterback. And you're right, Kenny. That's been my point. Arm strength doesn't matter. Joe Montana didn't have a rifle for an arm. But he's very accurate throwing the ball down the field, too. So is Tom Brady.
I tell you, one of the most accurate quarterbacks and has zip on the ball didn't really win too many games. Jeff George.
Oh, God. One of the most.
I'm just saying. He could throw the ball.
He couldn't win games. He won 37% of the games he played in his career. 37%. With a rocket arm.
That's what I'm saying.
Probably one of the biggest wastes of talent ever to hit the NFL. And he had a long career, too. He played for a long time and played for all bad teams. Well, he was part of the reason. Rick talks about Mike Zimmer getting the defensive coordinator job with the Cowboys. I've heard both things. I know that Rex Ryan interviewed. I know that a lot of Cowboy fans are pushing for Mike Zimmer and ex-Cowboy players, too. So maybe Zimmer will get that job. I don't think it's official either way. You said under 5. I said under 5 points, actually, but field goals are. We were talking about punts, and I wasn't necessarily looking at the prop bet over under for it, Anthony. But field goals, 5.5.
Was that after? That's just for scoring, or that's including touchdowns?
No, that's field goals, 3-point scores. I would say it. Listen, the over could be a good bet there if these defenses play tough, because I think both the offenses will move the ball, as we talked about, try to chew up the clock, and they're going to want to come away with points. I think 6 might be a good bet on field goals right this minute.
Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah,
I like under on punts.
But the punt thing, I think, is they're going to just, they're going to be keeping airing out the ball because they're going to be stuck in bad positioning. But
watch this thing. It's turn into to up and down the field, probably.
Yeah, I like it for the other thing. So.
Michigan, I know, was interviewing your boy Wink. I don't know if that's official yet either. News here before, though. Is it official now? He's got the job?
Yeah, he's going to get the job.
Because I know they were also looking at the Kansas City, one of the Kansas City defensive coaches as well, and he couldn't talk to them even now until after the Super Bowl. So
ESPN posted that they were going to hire him. So
if that's true, then good for Wink. Congratulations. And that's a good hire for Sherrod Moore, I think, too, because his forte is offense. So quick switch of topics here for Rick. The Lakers and LaFlop managed to lose to Kobe on Kobe's statue unveiling, I think that means.
Oh, they played Denver, right? Why would they book that game?
Yeah, you want to make it if they beat the Knicks at Madison Square Garden last week, but the Knicks that's not a good loss for the Knicks. Okay,
but the Knicks still, I wouldn't have booked it on the Knicks either. Like I would have booked it like play the Pistons or something, man.
They got their banner. They got the in-season tournament win, which, by the way, next year will be Emirates. Because we're selling everything to everybody around the country. The Emirates in-season tournament, or whatever they're going to call the damn thing. What a stupid. Not to stay on the NBA.
I like that because it forces the teams to not have to put the people on. I told you this anyway. I told you that the NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball should have 2 seasons anyways. So the in-season tournament is perfect for that situation. As far as
what's the point?
The season's so long that some of these cats are getting paid so much money. They're like, well, I could take 4 or 5 days off, and like, you're paying
more. They're still going to load manage these guys. It's
Kevin Myers. I like your score, man. My score
is a final score of 34-28. I don't like the winner, by the way. I like Kansas City to win this game. I'm going to tell you Kansas City 24-20.
Oh, wow.
Kansas City 24-20.
That's close to what Chris Berman had.
Oh, maybe I should change it. He's a Buffalo fan.
No, I have Kansas City 32-29. The field goal.
That's a good. Again, this is a coin flip game for me. And either one of these teams could win. I think the best 2 teams are there, as we said.
I think it's just going to be like the Bills versus the Giants. It's going to be one of those games that you're going to have to put it. Of all the people, you're going to put the pressure on the kicker, and the kicker's going to whiff.
You guys can feel free to put up your scores if you want before we sign off. I got to get off here by about 5 of today too, because I have an important meeting at 10 o'clock that I got to make sure I'm ready for. So we'll get off a few minutes early. You can put your predictions up if you want. And guys, I know I said I wouldn't be on the next few Sundays, but I'll probably try to go live at some point Sunday afternoon from the deck of the Venezia before we sail. Talk about the Super Bowl a little bit, at least with you guys for half hour or so. We'll see what we can do.
In hand or drink by hand?
They'll probably be in hand, I'm sure, and one probably backing it up. 21-18, only one TD. Only one TD. Whoa.
I like that. I like that, Ken. Look at you.
That's a bold prediction.
I like that, though. That's possible. I mean,
it's possible. That's being very specific, too.
It's even possible that the San Francisco has the same score, but you just give San Francisco the one.
What I would do, Kenny, is go somewhere where you can bet that exact score and exactly how they get there, and I bet you $10 will get you about $100,000. So, I want to find a place you can do that. What's Rick got? 28-21 San Francisco.
Okay, touchdown.
Listen, while they're putting up predictions, I want to talk about Andy Reid real quick. There's still, although he didn't help the rumors that he may step away after this.
Why would he? I would.
But what you could just put this to bed. When he said Tuesday, did not quell the rumors at all. When you say this is not the day to talk about this. That doesn't change people's thoughts that he may walk away.
Yeah, I mean, he can leave. He has.
If he's not walking away, he has a perfect chance to say, "No, I'm not walking away. Why would I walk away from a great football team like this?"
He's earned the right to do what he wants when he wants. Like he's walked the walk, talked the talk, and I mean,
well, everybody earns that right until they haven't. We found that out with Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, but
you earn the right until you haven't. So, what do you think he'll do? I do not think he's retiring.
Yeah, I don't think he'll retire yet. I think, and especially if they win, he'll get another go at it. He doesn't go out.
That'll give him 3 Super Bowl wins. I'd want to get 4 to be on the same level as, say, Noel and inching up on Belichick. I think that 4th Super Bowl would be important to him because he's got a team that is not going away.
Right.
He's not going away. Kelsey's the only guy starting to age out.
He gave him an extension, so it don't matter whether he's aging or not.
I'm just saying he's the only guy starting to get up there a little bit. The rest of this team's young. Rice is going to get better. Pacheco's a really good player. This defense is built to be good for a while.
And even if they make some trades, or even if they go into the draft, the later rounds will have a lot of talent and potential this year than before.
Yeah, well, that's where drafts are won and lost to me after the 4th round anyway. That's where you find. When you can find guys like Pacheco late in drafts, you have Tom Brady late in drafts. I mean, they're not Purdy, the last guy drafted. I mean, everybody knows his story. That's, people always get wrapped up in who the first picks are. But
yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Like, it's called a lottery in a draft for a reason.
Yeah.
You don't always get the winning number, man.
Yeah. No, the quality of your draft overall is what's important. It's not that. The first one can set you back if you screw it up, but really it sets you back even more if you really blow the rest of the draft as well. So
yeah, and then so they're like, you have the ideas, you pick the most talented and the one with the most ready to play on the top, but when they have these issues like how were they in the university, if they had any arrests, then you start cutting people away from that list. You're not really getting the true player, the truest best player on the board.
Rick, well, I can't order beforehand. My wife's got to see things very up close, and I think we'll buy jewelry in a new place. We got a couple new ports this year, maybe Grenada, someplace like that.
Oh, you go to Grenada?
Yeah, we will be in Grenada for a day. Yep.
Oh, nice.
Never been there. That's a new stop for us. There's a couple. We have a couple new stops. I can't remember the other one. I don't remember. People say, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, we're leaving New York and we're coming back to New York." So that's about all I know. We'll sail from New York and sail back to New York.
When you do those ship trips, do you always go to the ports? Do you always get off or something? Do you
not all the time? It depends on where we are. And like if we go to say the Dominican and we don't go to can't think of the main bay there. If we go to there's a port. There's 2 ports you go to. One's very hard to get into because the wind can keep you from going there. A lot of times the port they schedule this other one. I can't think of the name of the port now. but it's right by a prison, and there's really nothing there. You get off, you got your little, like every port, you got your little, people selling you everything in the world, and
tourist trap.
So I won't always get off. If I've been there and there's nothing we want to do, nothing I want to see, I'll stay on the ship. It's nice and quiet those days. So,
when they port, how many days usually the trips you go on?
One day you dock about 8 and leave by 4:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock sometimes. We have some longer days in port this time than in the past. It's a longer cruise, so it's 12 days, and we're at C6, and we're in, I think, 5 ports. So.
We should do some ocean fishing, man. Some sea salt fishing, man.
Not a big fisherman,
I mean, yeah. Look, you should at least try
a boat with a cooler and just do that. So,
all right.
What else we got here? Could be moving to Philly next year. Kenny, you're gonna move off the mountain to Philly? Why Philly, dude? Let's talk real quick. I want to talk real quick since we got a few minutes. You made your Super Bowl prediction, or did you not?
Yeah, I said 32-29.
All right. 32-29 San Francisco. I've got 24-20 Kansas City. There's our picks. Let's talk real quick, and Kenny won't want to get involved, I'm sure. The Knicks trade. We got a few minutes. I think, now again, this is precipitated on everybody getting healthy as well. Anabu, Randall, Brunson especially. I think this trade puts the Knicks. I'm not afraid to play any team in the playoffs. Maybe Boston is the only team I'm really concerned about playing in. They could lose, but the only team I'm really concerned about is Boston in either conference. I think this trade puts the Knicks over the top, assuming everybody else is healthy, because it won't upset team chemistry. These two guys are going to fill whatever role Thibodeau asked them to fill.
They're already role players, right?
Right now, it's good. They're going to need to play a lot because, and maybe even start, because these guys are hurt. But I think first, Alec Burks coming back. He was a very productive player for the Knicks in Thibodeau's first few years. But what's his name? How do you say this guy's name?
Bogdanovic.
He's going to give them what they thought they were going to get from Fournier 3 years ago, in my mind.
I mean, they're both a little bit older statesmen. I would have rather prefer them stay on the young route, because the guys that have are kids that are younger.
They're looking to win now, though.
Yeah, I know. And the older guy you have is Randall, and he can't stay on the court anyway. As much as he's been a great player when he is on the court, which I'd rather had traded him to Golden State if they want to make a run. Golden State would have used him better, Randall, because that would have given him depth.
Yeah,
and we would have got Kuminga. I wanted Kuminga really bad. I thought he would have fit better, and he's young and he's still got more upside and then you would have got youth. But with these two guys, you get stability, you get more depth. The problem is still going to be that Tibbs outruns all his players, but
he's not going to have the opportunity to do that. The silver lining of the injuries to Randall and Anabu, I'll always say his name wrong, are that they're going to be out for Randall's got at least a couple of weeks more out. And I was probably out for a month. It's going to give them a chance to
stay in the mix.
They're going to be much healthier and come playoff time. They're going to be much more rested come playoff time than they have been in the past, especially Randall.
But everybody keeps saying that, but they don't. You have to understand one thing is that you keep saying that, but you have a coach that doesn't allow you to do that. Tibbs doesn't allow you to.
You can't play him when he's not able to play. He can't play.
But then when they come back, he's expecting them to play, to that point, to that high level, and they can't. They won't, because they're older.
We've expected why can't guys play in the high 30s every game? They did it for decades.
Because it's a different game.
Will Reed on one leg would play 40 minutes a game.
Where I say it's different, it's more it's less defense, so the game doesn't slow down. You don't have the time to catch your breath. You're running back and forth. If you can, you'll try to do as many fast breaks as possible just to catch your team on a bad on a bad breath there. So it's not the same game anymore. And also,
and by the way, he didn't have quality guys to put in there to take minutes away from Randall.
Right now, these
and now he does.
But these are, again, this is stability and better consistent shooting. So that's going to give him a little platform to work off. But again, this will help Brunson too, because then it's not him trying to control the ball and shoot the ball.
Agreed.
But again, you did exactly what the Milwaukee Bucks did and what the Phoenix Suns did, is you went out and got older instead of staying fresh and being younger.
I don't need to be younger if I'm trying to win right now. I don't need to be younger. I can get younger later.
Right now, it's a kid's game, and Phoenix, and it's already been tested and proved that Phoenix and what they try to do, it doesn't work.
Well, we got to get ready to wrap it up here, as I said a few minutes earlier. I'll say this one thing to keep an eye on with the Knicks and injuries. We talked about the three big guys. This Hartenstein injury the other night might be one to keep an eye on too. Achilles is not a good thing, obviously, and he's played really, really well, especially with Robinson out. So keep an eye on that. And I know Kenny hates NBA basketball.
Guys,
we'll talk about
stay safe, be safe, get a taxi if you need to.
Have a great weekend, guys. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll try to touch base with you Sunday at some point, probably sometime after noon. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, guys.